What's up guys, it's Ghoti here and welcome to yet another amazing video on the channel. For today I got you a post-DUNE Ghoti deck profile, and every time I put Ghoti on the channel you guys absolutely love it, so I thought I'd be doing you a post-DUNE deck profile. Yes, it's on Dueling Book. That is because I am home for the holidays of summer, and that makes it very difficult where I am right now to access post-DUNE, access much Yu-Gi-Oh! At all, to be honest. So I think Dueling Book content is going to be the way I'm going to be trying to be going forward. Or if not, I'm only going to be able to produce the same sort of kind of deck profiles that I've produced already, because I just won't really have access to the new cards. Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets here very, very slowly and in very limited quantities. But that all being said, I hope you guys do enjoy this video, and if you do, make sure you do leave a like. If this isn't the first video you've ever seen from me, make sure you do subscribe, because that means you've seen me once and now you've seen me again, which is fate. Make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss any more of my amazing videos, and let's get straight into this Ghoti deck profile. So I'm going to quickly go over the ratios. It's triple Paces, triple Shift, double Snopios, 1 Exceep, 1 Zep, and 1 of the Field Spell. I play these ratios because I think these are the best ratios that you can play in the build I have right now, which focuses around a lot of discarding. We're going to be discarding off the Supe Dustwalker package, and we're going to be discarding off the Ice Jade Ran package as well. So let me quickly go over what they do. We're going to have Paces and Shift, which are your main pieces of the engine. We have Zep as well, because he's a tuner, but Zep is more of like a one-time thing. I like to see Zep as like you're going to do the play if you're going to try and push for a big synchro play. If not, you're going to be usually spamming your Shift and your Paces onto the field every single turn. And how do you manage that? Well, when they're banished, they come back during the standby phase. If they come back during the standby phase during your opponent's turn, they are basically quick effect formula synchrons. So that is why they are crazy. You are locked into fish, but that is perfectly fine because we have a lot of good fish synchro monsters to be going into, so that isn't a problem. So I think maxing these out is important because of discards and because we're playing the Pot of Desires, because apart from that, the deck doesn't have any other way to draw, and we don't really add a lot of cards from deck to hand. So that is why we're going to be, if they draw us, it is whatever, because honestly it's not going to impact us that much. So I think Desires is great in this deck. If it comes to 3, we'll be playing it at 3. So I sort of mention what they do. For the actual individual effects, we're going to talk about Paces first. If he's on the field, you banish him for cost, which is nice, and you can special summon a fish monster from your hand, usually wanting it to be your Lifeless Leaf Fish, because your Lifeless Leaf Fish is your main combo starter, and it will get you Shift in the graveyard. When Shift is in the grave, you can banish it, target 1 fish monster you control, it simply gains 500 attack until the end of the turn. These effects don't really matter. What matters is that they banish themselves and then come back as Formula Synchrons. For a 2-of, I like to think Snopios is the big boss monster of the deck, for the main deck at least, and it is absolutely incredible. During the main phase, you're going to banish 2 fish from your hand or graveyard, which already is insane, and that's its cost. You're going to special summon this card from your hand. When it is special summoned, you target 1 face-up card on the field, including itself, and it's get banished when it leaves the field instead of just going to the graveyard. And when this card is banished, you banish a fish monster from your graveyard and add it to your hand. So I think you're starting to see the pattern that all the Ghotis are extremely recurable and extremely sort of controlling in the way, and they're going to keep recurring themselves, they're going to keep making resources out of themselves, and then that's going to allow you to sort of win the game just through a battle of attrition. We have 1 Exceep. I think Exceep is useful to play at 1, because if you search it, you're most likely going to be able to immediately special summon it, and it's a level 4. And if you're going to be special summoning it as a level 4, that's because you're going to be going into your Xyz play, usually like 99% of the time. That's why you do that. And I like the fact that it's like Gazelle, so if you banish a card to search this, so with the Field Spell for example, it will immediately trigger. You don't already need to banish a card when it's in your hand. It remembers sort of what happened in the chain when it was added to its hand, which I think is absolutely beautiful. For the sort of the tune I said is a one-off thing, it has the effect that when it is banished, it's not during the standby phase unlike the others, so we can do it during any phase, and it will immediately come back and immediately synchro. I think the fact that it can't choose when to synchro is a bit of a downside. If it's special summoned, it has to immediately synchro, but that's okay, because we're going to be basically sending it usually off of our Orion post when we make it during our opponent's turn. It's going to immediately come back, and then we're going to immediately synchro into an Ascan or a different type of fish like White or a Whale to basically get removal. So that is why I treat Zep as like a one-time thing, because you're never ever going to really be able to recycle him consistently from the banish pile. And for the Field Spell, I think playing 1 is fine. You can just cut it entirely. This is a 43 card list. I really did try to cut it down, but I just really like the field spell. The field spell is, while you control a fish synchro monster, this card cannot be destroyed or banished by card effects, and that includes your own guys. Meaning that when you do make your big guys going to banish the whole field, your field spell will stay. And its search effect is you can banish a fish monster from your hand or grave and add a Ghoti from your deck to your hand. So I just really like, I wish there was a way to search it. If Ghoti got a way to search, the field spell, I think they would be extremely, extremely good. That could be a really good piece of support in the future. Being able to search spells with maybe a new draw spell or something that can summon bodies onto the field from the deck. That would be great. Sort of like an emergency for Rescue Ace. But until then, we're going to be playing one of the field spell, and it's also just recurable. If it's in the graveyard, it can banish a fish or something like that, I believe. Target a fish, banish it, add it to your hand. So that's what it's recurable, so you only really need the one. And if it gets banished with Desires, it's not the end of the world anyway. I already sort of briefly mentioned this, but Lifeless Leaf Fish is a 3-of, and it's a mandatory 3-of in my opinion. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to be normal summoning or special summoning this, and we're going to be wanting to usually always send the shift, and then shift banish itself, and it's going to come back during the standby phase. And this is a 1-card interruption into like a level 8 synchro. So that is why I think Lifeless Leaf Fish is really, really nice. It also has the effect that you can banish it from the grave, target 3 fish in your grave, shuffle them into the deck, and draw a card. That effect doesn't come up nearly as, not very often, but at least it's there and you have the option. For one of my favorite cards in the entire deck, we have Abyss Shark. Abyss Shark is really nice because it's I like to say 1 card, but you already need to control a water monster. But it's essentially a 1-card free Stealth Kraken, which is why I really like it. So what it does is, if all monsters you control are water, you special summon it from your hand and add a level 3, 4, or 5 monster that is a fish type from your deck to your hand. So that's immediately, for example, going to grab you your Silent Angler. And Silent Angler, what it does is, if you control water, it special summons itself from your hand. That doesn't start a chain, but you cannot special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of the turn. So basically, these two are a rank 4, because this can be treated as a level 4 for the XCs of a number. So that is why I think playing these are very, very good. I play 2 Silent Angler because I always search one off Abyss Shark, but I always like to have a second one just in case I want to pair it up with my Ghotis, for example, normal summon, Paces, or Shift, special summon Silent Angler, and then immediately go for a synchro summon that way. For a card that I don't want to say I'm disappointed with it, but I misread it in the first place. What I read was that this was a quick effect negate, which it is not. Is a quick effect special summon. If this was a quick effect negate, I'd be playing much more than one of this card, but I feel it's just a useful option to deal with floodgates during your turn. For example, if they have there can be only one, you can normal summon Minaruka, use its effect, and switch off there can be only one for 2 whole turns. And then, for example, if you have things like your Supe, if you have things like your Ice Jade Ran, you're going to be able to use those things, and you're going to be able to, push through the floodgates, which is why I really like the Minaruka. And it's a fish, so all the fishes are searchable off your Orion Post's graveyard effect, so just 1 is perfectly fine. It has the effect to summon itself on a when, so it can sort of miss timing in a way, but it is what it is. I think it's a useful one. You can cut it if you want and play closer to the 40 card list. For non-fishers, here we have the triple Supe and the 1 Supe itself. So triple Supe Dustwalker and the 1 Supe. This engine's incredible. Discard a card, special summon Supe Dustwalker and a Supe from your hand or deck or graveyard, I believe. No, just hand or deck. And that immediately gives you a level 6 synchro. It does lock you into synchro summoning, which does conflict with your Abyss Shark, which is, I think, the only sort of reason that you can validate not playing Abyss Shark. I see some people just don't play it at all. I think Abyss Shark is too good not to play. But this Supe package does wonders, making you an instant Orion Post, giving you an immediate banish, usually of one of your tuners, which are going to give you immediate sort of recovery on your opponent's standby phase, and then it's going to let you synchro summon, it's going to get you into an Ascan, and it's going to get you into a search, all off this 1 card and a discard. So I think this card is just mandatory and just really, really good. I think it might be seeing play in other decks at the moment, like the synchro build, but I just always think it's been really good in Ghotis. For a new edition, well, not new edition, it was in my last deck profile, but it is new from there. It is Ice Jade Ran. I think Ice Jade Ran's incredible. It's a 1 card, either Ice Jade Synchro or Supreme Chenying So I think this card is good. All it does is discard a card, but as we said, we want these cards in the graveyard, the tuners anyway, so that's fine. It's going to summon itself, and it's going to give you a level 3 token, and then you're locked into waters while it's on the field, but that's absolutely fine, because you're going to be going into your Chen Ying, and you're going to be able to trigger the Chen Ying during your opponent's turn pretty much whenever you want, because you have the ability to quick effect banish cards from your graveyard. For a card I think is slept on, we have the Triple Hop Air Squadron. This card is like another tuner during opponent's turn, except it doesn't give you the fish restriction. If you synchro summon using the Hop Air Squadron, and you can use it to dodge cards like Imperm and Morna and things like that, it doesn't restrict you into fish, so it allows you to make your non-fish cards, like your Axel Stardust, like your Emancipator Risen. You can even make your Crystal Wing, stuff like that. You can make your Baron, and you can make your Ruddy Rose Dragon all off this card, and just any level 4, level 6 body, and discard, and you can dodge targeting, and you can immediately synchro as well, keeping with the theme of synchro summoning during your opponent's turn as well, importantly. For a new edition, we have Triple Assault Synchron. I don't know if 3 is too much. In testing, it's been fine. I just like this card because it's a level 2 tuner that summons itself for free, and as you know, we're going to be playing our Lifeless Leaf Fish, so normal Lifeless, send your Shift, banish Shift, target Lifeless, and then we're going to Synchro Summon, Special Assault, Synchro to level 6, and we're going to make our Orion Post. Orion Post is going to banish our Paces, and during our opponent's turn we already have the 2 most powerful tuners in rotation, just off a Lifeless Leaf Fish and a Assault Synchron, which is why I think this card is just really, really good. For our hand traps here, I still play the Bestial package. I know the Bestial package isn't that good, but I don't play it for its disruption. I play it because it's a quick effect level 6 body that gets me advantage. So for example, if I only have these tuners on the field, I can't do anything. I can't synchro summon, hence why I need an immediate level 6 to enter the field and immediately synchro. Usually it's good with Druisworm, because Druisworm allows you to, once you synchro, to chain block and target a special summon monster and send it to the graveyard as well. So that is really, really nice, but the Magnum works just fine because it gets you access to the Druisworm, and of course, since we are going to be discarding cards off our Supe, and yeah, just our Supe, because I believe this needs to be a water monster. Once you get one in the graveyard, you have all of them in rotation, which is what I like. We have 1 Ash, 1 Imperm. Weird ratios, I know. That's because we're playing the double crossout designator. We're playing double crossout because we can cross out, call our Ghoti tuners, and then they will come back during our opponent's standby phase. So it's sort of like an E-Telly, just a bit slower. But if we already have access to them, we can stop Ash and we can stop Imperm as well. And to round it off, we have double Pot and Desires because it's at 2. But I just think banishing 10 cards from top of your deck face down is perfectly fine. You draw 2, we play a lot of 3-ofs, and it boosts your Chen Ying's attack to monstrous levels. Getting on to the extra deck, we have our 1 Metaphys Horus. I think this card is very nice because you can synchro summon it, and you can target 1 card, face-up card on the field, and negate that target's effects forever. So I just think that's a useful tech to have. I've already mentioned him about 4 times, but Orion Post is amazing. He's the best synchro we have. If you synchro summon, you're going to banish a level 6 little fish from your deck, so that's really nice. And if you send to the graveyard, you target fish, it can be himself, banish it, and add a fish with a level that's lower than it, so level 6 or lower. And that basically accesses your entire deck and all the fish that you play. So that is why I think Orion Post is really nice. We have double Ascan. If this card is synchro summon, you target a fish, can be itself, and a card your opponent controls, and you banish them. And if it's banished, you can banish a fish monster from your graveyard and special summon it. So it's basically a free banish and gets you more cards from your graveyard into the banish pile as well. And that's sort of seen as the bad side, that you need to banish a card from your graveyard to special summon it, but it's honestly just all good. And for our big level 10 Ghoti, I only play 1 because when you make him, you pretty much win the game right there. If you do this against Labyrinth, they set 5, you Ghoti of the Deep Beyond them, they cry. If you go through all your opponent's negates and they have a full board, you go to the Deep Beyond them, banish everything, they cry. And you pretty much just win the game from there. So if you don't know what he does is, his original attack is 500 times the number of banished monsters, so during late game he can be absolutely huge. And if this card is synchro summoned during opponent's turn, it banishes all cards on the field, except for your field spell if you had that in play, because you would control a synchro summoned monster at the time of this card's, resolution. And during the standby phase of the next turn is banished, this also does come back, which makes for cool loops with the card as well. For our generic level 10 synchros, we have 1 Ice Jade Adrene. This card is useful because we're going to be making it during our opponent's turn or off our 1 card, well 1.5 you have to discard a card Ice Jade Ran. And what it does, it actually has a few cool niches. Quick effect, all other face-up monsters that you control cannot be destroyed or banished by opponent's card effects, which is really nice. And if you activated it in response to opponent's card or effect activation, and your opponent has a card with their name in the field or graveyard, you can banish those cards. So if you do it during to a monster, you basically just banish the card. So I think that's really, really nice. And yeah, I think that's just very useful to have as a level 10 synchro that we're going to be bringing out pretty much for free off the Ice Shade Ran. I mentioned him before, but Chen Ying is honestly probably behind Baron the best card in your extra deck if you can use him effectively. What he does is he lowers your opponent's attack and he gains attack equal to each banished card, which is nice because not only does he gain, but it lowers, so it makes him sort of double as big, if you get what I mean. And if he will be destroyed by card effect, you can banish one card from your graveyard, so that's going to be banishing you more Ghoti tuners, more recursion. And if a card is banished, you're going to basically be able to IDP your opponent. So banish 1 card from your opponent's field and graveyard. And of course, we're going to be able to banish a lot of cards during both players' turn. So we're realistically going to be able to use his effect as a quick effect every single time. So during our turn and during our opponent's turn, we're going to be using his effect, banishing cards, making sure that we stay in the driver's seat, which is why I really like Chen Ying. Of course, we have the generic Baron the Fleur, just a pop and a negate. We all know what Baron does, but I feel it's essential because it's just very easy to make in this deck. We have 1 Ruddy Rose Dragon. This is more for the Dark World matchups and for Tailments and things like that. They're very graveyard-centric. We're going to make our Ruddy Rose Dragon and we're going to banish both players' graveyards. And of course, that benefits us hugely, as I've mentioned loads of times in this video. We have the 1 Axel Stardust because all our Ghoti tuners are level 2. So perfect. Just absolutely amazing card. Makes us a Baron. We have the 1 Crystal Ring. This is usually made with a Orion Post and a level 2. Remember, if it's during our turn, we aren't fish locked, so an Orion Post plus any of the Ghoti tuners can make us our Crystal Wing. During our opponent's turn, it's a bit more complicated, and we have to open the Hop Ear Squadron. But it's really nice because it's a monster negate every single turn, and he gets huge when he declares an attack. So I just think he's absolutely, he's like one of my favorite synchros, essentially. I really want to get him Ghost Rare. We also have his Spell and Trap Negation type. You can just straight up make him, whereas Crystal Ring needs already a tuner. So he's just a Spell and Trap Negate every single time. During the Labyrinth matchup and things like that, we're going to be making him often, so we're going to be able to sort of force them to use 2 traps for the price of 1 card. So that's what I really like. We have the 1 White Aura Whale. Once we make this card, our opponent's going to play around it, so I only ever play 1, but if it does resolve, it resolves hard. It basically Raigekis your opponent's board. It destroys all attack position monsters. So once you make it, and it is a fish, you can make it on a Ghoti effect, but you can't do it in response to a chain because it will miss timing because it's when, and it's really annoying like that. But you basically always have to make the chain. Your tuner always has to be chain link 1. You can't be like chain link 4, chain shift and summon, because the last thing to happen wouldn't be the synchro, it would be the chain resolving, so it will miss timing. But if you can make him in an open board state, like in response to a summon or something like that, you're going to be able to get massive advantage off him. And if they do add him, he comes back as a tuner, which doesn't ever really come up, but it's there as an option, and he can make 2 attacks on monsters during the battle phase. These effects never really come up. He does piercing, he does a bit of everything, but the main effect is the Raigeki. And for the 1 non-synchro monster we play, just because he's that good, we play number 4 Stealth Kraken. All face-up water monsters in the field become water, which immediately screws up loads of decks, like Salmon Greats and things like that, and then he fires. Nope, they're all water now. And then during the main phase, so during yours and your opponents, you're going to be able to destroy a water monster opponent controls, and of course all of them are made water, and inflict damage equal to half the attack. So in time as well, it has a sort of win con in making the Stealth Kraken. For our side deck, I'm going to quickly go over this. What we have here is we have triple of the Dimension Shifter, because this deck can play it, and Dimension Shifter is one hell of a hand trap. Triple Dark Ruler, because those break my board type decks like Mana Dome, we need to be drawing the Dark Ruler. But then again, they have the counter trap, but baiting out the counter trap isn't bad, I guess. We have triple Twin Twister. Again, discarding cards isn't bad. This is, for the Lamberth matchup, it isn't great, I'm not going to lie, because they can just always reset. Cosmic is better, but this gets us cards in the graveyard, so it's not the end of the world, and I think it's worth playing. We have one Harpy's Feather Duster. Again, just Morn Spell and trap removal. We have a decent matchup against it, but it's just better to be safe. And for going first, we have our double White Howling, which is basically a Imperial Order, but on crack. You're going to be able to, if you control a water monster, you target one spell in the opponent's graveyard, banish it, and it negates all the other spell effects on the field for the rest of the turn. So, for example, if they try and activate a Sky Striker spell, if they say they have Engage in the graveyard and they activate Engage, banish Engage to negate Engage, if that makes sense. Oh, wait, and then it will negate anything else like Widow Anchor and everything else that's already on the field. And of course, I feel like this is a format staple right now. Triple Dimension Barrier. This is going to be able to call... We don't ever really want to call Synchro because it's going to screw you. So against the Mana Dome matchup, it's not actually that good, but that's why we have D-Shifter, and you can arguably put Droll in for the Dark Widow No Mores. But against things like Tearlaments, against things like Kashtira, we're going to be able to call the right type of card, Fusion, Xyz, Synchro, Ritual, or whatever, and we're going to completely shut that off for the whole turn, which I think is very, very valuable. But with all that being said, this is the end of the Ghoti deck profile. I hope you guys did enjoy. Sorry if it's a bit longer than usual. I like to get in depth and explain these cards because I really do like the deck and I know exactly what it does. So I hope you guys do enjoy. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure that you do leave a like and subscribe down below.